Welcome back to I'm Still Here. I'm Larry.
And I'm Heather. In 1998, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. It changed everything for us, but I'm still here.
For us?
For me.
Well, you usually say me, and this time you said us.
Oh, well, it changed your life considerably, too.
It did. Okay. Well, today, this week, whatever, is kind of stemmed our discussion this week, and many times over the last 20-some years. I don't know a year. How many years?
I know I gotta do the math. It's coming up on 24
years.
So
over the last 20 years, specifically, probably, you've had situations or run-ins or people approach you that have maybe gone through similar things or not, or just kind of reached out to you, or again had run-ins. Why don't you talk to us about kind of, what happened with you this week?
Well, so, yeah, I've had a lot of different encounters, and I feel like there's a lot of times that sometimes people will reach out to me, but sometimes things just happen by circumstance or happenstance or whatever. I've been staying in a hotel during the week because I'm working out of town right now, and there's a woman that works at the front desk at the hotel I work or stay at, and she's super nice, and I've mentioned her to you before because she's been so friendly and things like that. But this week, kind of a couple of conversations got sparked. First about what I do in my career, but then I feel like she just kind of casually mentioned starting chemo soon. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't know how it went, but anyway, I quickly realized that she had been diagnosed with breast cancer. There's a lot of different history involved, but I guess the overarching thing to all of that was that I really felt like, okay, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing in terms of like my career and being an OT and things like that. But I just knew walking up to my room after having a conversation with this woman that I was meant to meet her. You know what I mean? And hopefully be able to encourage her a little bit. It was interesting. She's starting the same chemo, well, at least the big one, adriamycin, that I started. It just, I don't know, it felt kind of like this is what I'm here for.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's been, I don't know if it's a lot of years or just trial and error, I don't know, coming that you have come to that realization. I think you fought that off in the beginning. You didn't really want to talk to people necessarily you didn't want to help people.
Well, I think what it was that I didn't want to be known just for living.
Yeah, right.
Like, ooh, good for you. So am I. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just alive. That's what I didn't want to be known for. I think, I have such a family that I feel like is whatever. Just all of my structure is so kind of success driven, and I'm success driven, but it's more about accolades or about, stature within business or whatever, job status. So to be known just for surviving, to me, felt a little bit like, what is this? And also,
okay, so but let's stop there. Okay. So, you don't want to just be known for that right there. Yet, I think, just from, being on the outside, I think it gives you a lot of fulfillment to talk to people, to maybe help them. Yeah. To tell them about your story. Yeah. That hasn't always been. Have you thought about, where was that change, or when, or why?
I think there's a little bit of imposter syndrome for a long time in terms of, well, what if I, say all these things and then something goes wrong? Or what if, you know what I mean? Yeah. So now I'm like, listen, one, I feel pretty solid about how my health is. And also, number two, I'm like, it doesn't matter what this is. It's a great run. Right?
Yeah, and you're not making any promises. You're not making any, you're just
I think there's also a little bit of me realizing, I think with the advent of podcasts and things like, probably podcasts specifically, I've really realized how much I benefit from other people's stories. Like, so it's... Okay. So it does have value. It doesn't maybe have the, that's the thing. It's like, it's not necessarily going to be validated in a, hey, this is worth this much money or whatever kind of thing. No. But it does have value. And that's where I feel like when, especially like what happened this week, to actually be able to have the face-to-face encounter, which doesn't happen as much anymore, right? And realize, like, I can so relate to this woman, and I know what that would have meant to me.
To some extent, be a mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, everybody wants a mentor. Everybody wants that person. I've got a question. I don't know who to ask. I can at least ask this person. They may not know the answer, but that mentor, that or I'm feeling this, is that those questions that you don't want to call your doctor about.
Well, and your doctor doesn't know. I mean, like we were talking about like chemotherapy and stuff, but we were specifically talking about like with adriamycin, like your hair's going to fall out in 14 days. Now, I had a nurse who was like, no, here's the day, 14, But she didn't know that specifically. And one of the things also that she'd gotten her hair cut. It's super cute. Really pretty close cut on the sides. Well, then I realized she'd done that because she knows she's going to lose it. And I'd done the same thing. And there's just like a poignancy to that, just knowing that, and I remember that conversation with the hairdresser who cut mine. I went back to a hairdresser that I'd been with a long time, and I remember it feeling uncomfortable and, trying to be positive and but also being just so sad. And where she is right now, you're so sad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and trying to stay positive. I mean, don't get me wrong. This woman's attitude and everything is amazing, but it's also like, no, it's okay. You got to grieve this, But
and it's all of those things, I think, that not only you can bring to her and other people, but just to the world of cancer, of everybody wants to hear from somebody who's been through it, not from a book necessarily. I get people write books that they've been through it. I'm not talking about that. I'm more talking about instructional books,
right? Or
pamphlets, or those kind of things. They want to hear from people who have been through it and actually done it.
Yeah,
and that's where.
Well, I think it's also about bringing the emotion, how do you deal with the emotions? How do you deal with the everything else? I mean, of course, they're going to make a plan for you,
Sure.
But, or even the intuition, there was some things she was talking about that she, was kind of recommended. And then she was like, it just didn't feel right. And I changed course. And I was like, good for you for listening. Like, so important to listen to yourself, and those are the things that I wish I could say to people too. Like when I hear that from somebody, I think, oh, you're going to be all right. You're going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, and of course I can't, make any guarantees, but it just makes me go, I think in this world, like we're all better off when we listen to ourselves, and follow kind of those voices within. So,
yeah. So, I mean, is this for you, is this I'm listening to what's in front of me and this is where I need to go type of thing?
Well, for me, it's like, how do I continue to make this where I can be more often, right? Because like, I mean, I think it's really a driving force for me is to be able, whenever I can have an impact on things, it of course feels really good. And and I feel like I am. There's a welcome in this space for me that is unlike any other space. I'm glad you're here. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. That same night I was on a meeting or call with breast cancer organization that I love. And, like, when I showed up on that call, like...
What was it?
Little Pink Houses of Hope. Yeah. But, like, I knew they were happy I was there. And that it does feel good, I think, to be, like, affirmed, like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Rather than, I think I often find myself from an OT, occupational therapy standpoint, like, I'm in a career that, again, like, I'm not saying I build relationships everywhere I go. That's what I like to do. But, like, it feels like I'm uniquely suited for being a part of this world of breast cancer. I just don't know what it looks like. So.
Yeah. So, let's go back to, like, the imposter syndrome stuff, because I think that's really interesting and really real. And I think it goes to also, people don't necessarily want to make plans. People don't understand it, want to make big decisions because of this same thing being held over your head, and that is this, metastatic cancer. It is definitely life-changing in that. Any more to add to that part?
Well, I think there is so, like, generally when you have gained a skill of some kind or have information that other people don't have, it's kind of like, so what do you do with that? Well, you coach people, or you consult, or you do different things. I don't know. It's like, how do you provide, you give your knowledge to other people? Well, I think there's two things with that. One, then my health has to remain stable for me not to feel like an imposter, which is certainly not a guarantee.
Which is ridiculous. Because you're not an imposter.
I know.
But I know what you're talking about.
Exactly how,
It's ridiculous.
I know. It's such a beacon for me to say I've been stable since 2004. Like, people go, whoa, that's a long time.
It's a long time. Right.
But there's also a little bit of, to be honest, like, protection of myself in terms of, what if I were coaching somebody and they died? Like, what if I were to do something along those lines? Like, what's too close? What's too far? What's I don't know.
Are you talking about protecting yourself?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's... That's so... And you've had people in your past that have been maybe high up in these organizations and done unbelievably good things and stuff, and died. It's... You've had examples of this, so I think maybe you fall back on that sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. I think, it's... And also, like, there's this whole part of me that's like, I would never want to under-deliver on something. So, like, if you were to be really walking the path with somebody and it doesn't go well, like, is that a reflection? Like, one, the emotional component of that is tough, but also the whole...
Are you intimidated or scared to be put on a pedestal?
I think to a certain extent. I'm also, like, when I look at it, like, breast cancer or what, making this more of a career, it's kind of like, I would never want to, for lack of a better term, prey on people who are desperate. Right?
No,
like,
I get it.
Integrity.
And that's not what I'm talking about, preying on them by any means.
But I'm just saying integrity in the field is super important to me. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm really concerned about being put on a pedestal in terms of my status as somebody who's lived with breast cancer, because I think I've earned that. Finally.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
And I do think I think it's taken me a long time to feel like I've earned that. And that's where this comes in. Like, okay, I'm going to share this story. Okay, I'm going to talk about this because, like, we've mentioned it before, but, like, I have earned it. I'm at a point now where it's kind of funny, excuse me, like, I'm not considered young survivor anymore. And I was like, I was 26.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, I almost have to reach back out to, like, places like that and say, listen, I get it. You look at me and go 50, like, you have no clue. I have every clue. Yeah. I've lived through the entire part of it, Mm-hmm. So there is a portion of that where, all of that has changed. But
yeah, there's definitely been a change. And people, I think are getting to know you by this a little bit. Mm-hmm. But 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you would often get a call and say, my Aunt Sally has cancer.
Yeah.
Would you talk to them?
Yeah.
And your response would be the same almost every time. There was a few exceptions, and there was when we were closer to them or something. But it would be, yes, if they give me a call.
Sure.
If they reach out to me. I'm
not
going to reach out to them.
Yeah.
Because you wanted, and even then, you were standoffish on doing that. You didn't really want to do that. You were willing to, but you didn't want to.
I think there's two parts to that. One is that probably 10, 15 years ago, I was like, okay, wait a second. Maybe I lived through this to resume my old life. To go back to being an OT, to go back to just living. I don't, you know what I mean? And I was stepping more into that world. But over time, I've realized that just doesn't fulfill me, right? Mm-hmm. So honestly, this, having metastatic breast cancer, it has been the most impactful thing, aside from my family, right? You guys. Mm-hmm. So to say that and to honor it, I think is one thing that I'm coming back to. Like, how do I honor this? But when we talk about talking to individuals, I still do feel very much the same. And I've actually, I think, probably made a few people mad over time when they've been like, oh, you have to talk to this person. Mm-hmm. If that person is not reaching out, like, I go, no, I'm sorry. Like, they have to make that first step for me.
Because there's certain people that don't want to fight, right?
Absolutely. And this is the other thing.
Fight.
No, I know. But this is the other thing is, like, I think it's really hard. Those are the family members that scare me. Yeah. Actually, I've had conversations, and I think I feel differently about death than some people do, right? But I've along with those same conversations of, you have to help this person, I'm like, you have to recognize their wishes. Yeah. Like, it's not, I live for me. Mm-hmm. And I don't ever want to feel like I work in therapy. Mm-hmm. I literally watch people go to therapy until their dying days, and it crushes me. They're not doing it for them, people. Very rarely. They're doing it because their daughter is adamant, or they're this, or they're that. Well,
or a doctor just says so.
Or a doctor says so, or whatever. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to put that on other people either. I want people to live their last days to the way they want to live them, or to the best of their ability in that respect. And we've talked about that a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, but, I think all of this, though, I've realized is probably valuable input to this whole conversation. It's things that people don't necessarily have the experience or expertise to talk about. It's also just, I don't know. A lot of that stuff we don't generally delve into, right?
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
So
what do you want your role or relationship to be with this person specifically that you met this week? What would fulfill you in this?
Oh, I don't know. I want to help her get through the first part of it, for sure.
And what does that mean?
Like, just the check-ins, like I was thinking about, I should probably tell her that I had a reaction. Like, hey, if your ears get really hot, your face flushes, tell them to stop.
You're not going to explode. They can fix that.
Exactly. Hey, steroids are a great thing to start your treatment. It's that kind of stuff. It's just, how can I be helpful to you? I don't want to be overwhelming, but know that here's my, messenger or email or text or whatever. I do want to be that person to people who are doing treatment or are living, a long time and trying to transition. If I can be helpful, I want to be helpful. I just don't know how. What does that look like?
I don't know. Yeah,
that's why I asked. Those are the things that it's like.
And this is, I'm saying for you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying even for her. I'm saying fulfillment for you and what brings you happiness.
Yeah, fulfillment for me is like how, honestly, I mean, if we talk very honestly, it's like, how can I not be working a day job, mm-hmm. And meeting the needs of our family financially, but really pouring more time and effort into connecting to people that have cancer, I think,
For sure.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. I mean, I think in a perfect world, it would be a lot of phone calls with people. It would be a lot of, let's make a plan. It would be all of those kind of things in terms of, helping people transition or get through different parts of cancer, helping families realize that people with cancer, I mean, I think like we've talked about this a little bit, like in terms of, I think there was times that I needed you to go, you can do this, or be a little tough. But for the most part, like, they get to be the driver. It's their body and their life, and
sure.
Yeah, and also, like, I mean, I think one of the other things that I'm learning to sit with a little bit is, like, it's okay to be an inspiration to people. Like, we need inspiration. So if me doing...
I can still remember those inspirations in that very beginning that you had important. That just lit you up.
I know. It carried me for days and days and days.
Like, knowing that person existed.
Yeah.
And that was just like, okay.
Yeah.
It's possible.
It's possible. Exactly. So if I can be that, I mean, I do love to speak. I love to write. Mm-hmm. I like to do all of those things. Like, if I can spend time... it feels creative to me. It helps my soul that way, problem solving, all of those kind of things are like high on my list. But like what happened this week was when I called you, you were like, you sound so different. Like,
Well, it changes you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was not the case 15 years ago. It was not. And you really did. In your kind of segment of this, you went from being a patient to coming out of that to going, maybe to go into speaking, and you wrote the book, and you said, okay, that's what, and then you went, no,
I think I just didn't believe in myself.
I think so too. Yeah. Or the ability to push through the really sucky part of that when no one's listening or no one, that sucks.
Yeah.
But then you went back and just said, okay, I'm going to be an OT, and did that for a lot of years still.
Yeah.
And I think you're coming back around to that just from, the observer of this. And as far as your whole life, what's truly brought you happiness is that.
Yeah, I think the other, like when I think about that too, and we've talked about this a little bit in terms of in my path with cancer, the way I handled cancer, I listened to myself almost all the time. Like I listen to that voice, and in my career, I've done the complete opposite. So
what do you mean?
I haven't trusted myself, my intuition I've always played it very safe. I can make money as an OT. It's, you know what I mean? I can do that. But it doesn't fulfill me. And the fact is that maybe my gifts or my talents are unique, and there's not a concrete, this is what you should be kind of thing. No. So maybe it is writing, speaking, coaching, a bunch of different things, but I also have to have that little bit of faith in myself the same way that I did with cancer.
And the drive.
Yeah.
All that goes into something hard.
Yeah.
Holy crap, it's hard.
It is hard.
It's hard. And people discount that because they only see maybe the beginning and the end.
They do. It's like that.
They miss the middle.
That iceberg thing is so true.
Holy crap.
So true.
It's hard.
Like once underneath an iceberg, right? Like, It is hard. And it's also hard to be in a middle space of, when I was fighting cancer, we were able, that was 100% my focus. Well, right now, I have to be an OT and I have to work on what comes next, because otherwise there'd be no point, right?
Sure.
Like it would feel terrible to me.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I guess part of what that brings me to is like, I'm so thankful for the people who reach out to me. I'm so thankful to those of you who listen. I love you, friends and family. Keep listening. But I would love to hear from those of you who are listening because of cancer. You're the ones that I want to hear from, in terms of comments or suggestions and things like that. The rest of you, we can talk over dinner or things like that. But I don't know.
And we're going to keep doing this.
Yeah,
I don't
for
care
sure.
if one person's listening. This is good. And like I said, I think on the very first one or the second one is we're creating a library for somebody.
Yeah. Well, that makes me so happy too, to think that, like, man, if I could have like stumbled on a podcast that would have been like, oh, the diagnosis, oh, physical this. I think my challenge would have been to not consume it all as quickly as possible. And that maybe is like if you are dealing with cancer, like don't do the fire hose thing, listen, think, come back.
But also we have to know what have we not covered and what do we need to. And maybe we need to revisit that too. We started with a list of 100 things that we thought, and we certainly haven't hit them all. We haven't given, detailed thought to all of them.
Well, I think too, hitting them all is something that sometimes it's really easy for us, because we've lived this for so long, to kind of think about it or talk about it for 4 minutes. Mm-hmm. But really there's another whole episode about it. And that makes me think about like the intimacy, sex, those type of things. I think we hit on it, but we didn't, I don't know. There's definitely more, and all of that stuff changes. It changes throughout time. But there's a lot of different things that we could do. Yep. So anyway,
let us know.
Yeah.
What you want.
Yeah. Thanks for being you guys can be my career coaches while I coach you through cancer.
Yep. Awesome.
All right.
Well, I'm glad you are still
here,
so we can do this.
Have a good week.
Peace.